The Trump Army Parade was more successful than the No Kings protests.
Oh, this is an obvious no. This is obviously no, and I'll tell
Okay,
you why.
Lib.
I mean, seriously though. I mean, I will say before we get into it, I was amazed by the fact that this parade, which coincided with the 250th anniversary of the United States Army and Donald Trump's 79th birthday, it was much less Trump branded than I thought it would be. I mean, I was thinking, back in 2020, we had the RNC in DC, on the South Lawn of the White House. And I was expecting, fireworks to say, Big Daddy Don or something like that in the sky. And it was primarily, from the footage that I saw, I wasn't here this weekend, primarily focused on the history of the U.S. Army. And there was cool stuff that they had for people who wanted to attend, checking out helicopters and seeing all the gear of our soldiers and stuff like that. But it wasn't successful because of the way that these other protests across the country were covered. And maybe more people would have turned out for Trump's parade if it wasn't, gray skies and thunderstorms all across the weekend here in D.C. But I was heartened to see these protests, these No Kings protests, across the country and across the globe, really. Because last week we talked about how the rioting in Los Angeles that had spun out of these anti-ICE protests, those really, served to undermine this movement, really. There was tear gas, but people reacted by kicking the tear gas cans out of the way. That's not violence. Violence is destroying property.
If the liberal wine moms are running the protests, usually it's going to be fine.
Yes.
We can call them Karens and be annoying, but they tend to not get violent.
So I will say those protests were more successful because it was an evolution of, of rampant chaos and lawlessness that we saw in Los Angeles over the last week. But you have to keep this momentum going. It has to be going somewhere. We've talked about how for weeks and months, Democrats don't have someone or something that they can rally behind. This was that this weekend. You still have to channel it moving forward, though.
So the way that I know that the Trump military parade was more successful than the No Kings protest is because Trump didn't make the military parade about himself. So he successfully, I'm not saying this was the intention. I don't think this was 3D chess, but in effect, got all these liberals to protest America, the U.S. military. Look, Trump had an actual policy objective behind this military protest, and that is twofold. One, recruitment, which, as we've talked about, Pete Hegseth has been extraordinary at doing. Whatever other issues you have with Hegseth, military recruitment is at its fastest rate in over a decade. And secondarily, a reminder to other countries, we still have it going. Just because we're calling on other countries to increase their defense spending, our allies, right, in NATO, that is not the same thing as saying we're backing down.
Yeah.
So
I think it was Dr. Dre who rapped, what you do and run around talking about guns like I ain't got none. What do you think, I sold them all to Israel or perhaps to Taiwan?
Yes.
No, we're still packing. The U.S. Army has drones now and the little robotic dogs that will, kill you in your nightmares. America is the strongest military power in the
Elon,
world.
who apparently is back in the fold, and I guess we'll probably get to that next week. But so the parade itself was so not MAGA at all. It was just a objective celebration of the history of the U.S. military. It was great. They showed these were the racially integrated troops, and this is how we fought the British, and this is how we fought the Confederacy, and it was very pro-American.
I appreciated all of the period dress to show the evolution across the history of the military.
I love the period dress. It's so fun. So it's not that the No Kings protests were violent, although I will point out that 60 anti-Trump protesters were arrested for storming the U.S. Capitol on Saturday, and that just apparently didn't make the news because we only care when it's J6ers.
We only care when you go inside the U.S. Capitol.
Weren't they inside?
They're on the steps.
Okay, I guess
they're on the steps.
But I don't know. I still had a problem with the J6ers going on the steps. That was still bad for me.
Yeah.
But I guess this is the difficulty with having standards that you apply to everyone. The real issue with the No Kings protest is you guys just are obsessed with Trump and you aren't saying anything else.
Yeah.
I would have protested with you after Liberation Day about the tariffs, but you don't actually care about policy, so...
See, I will accept almost everything you said. I actually like it being the No Kings protest versus the anti-Trump protest. Because by not saying his name, obviously, it's obvious who they're protesting. But I think that's almost holding one out on him. Like, he wants the attention, and he wants it to be about him. But if it's about anti-authoritarianism, then
But
like,
then why
it's
weren't they protesting when Joe Biden was unilaterally canceling hundreds of billions of dollars of student loan debt?
That I can't answer.
Or proclaiming that we just added a new amendment to the Constitution.
This is a straw man fallacy. I refuse to engage.